Good day to everyone, and welcome to today's webinar entitled How to Use Video Messages to Engage, Educate, and Build Trust in the Healthcare Industry. My name is Mark Haglund, and I'm Editor-in-Chief of Healthcare Innovation. Today's program is sponsored by Salesforce and Vidyard. Thank you to our friends at Salesforce and Vidyard, and to you in our audience for giving us your time and attention today. Before we get started, I have just a few housekeeping details to share with you. To submit a question, please use the Q&A box to the left of your video window at any time. You do not have to wait until the end of the program. For technical issues, please press F5 to refresh, and if that doesn't work, you can submit a question with your issue through the Q&A panel. Finally, join our webinar conversation on Twitter. You can tweet using the hashtag #HILiveWebinar. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's program, Tyler Lessard. Tyler is Vice President of Marketing at Vidyard and author of the book, The Visual Sale. Welcome, Tyler. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Mark. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. And yes, thank you to everybody who's joining us for what will hopefully be an extremely valuable, insightful, and maybe even a bit of a fun conversation about using video. I'm excited, Mark.
Wonderful. Well, I am very interested, Tyler. There are a lot of nuances and layers to all of this, I think, especially in healthcare. So let's plunge in. Let me start by asking you, in your view, from your perspective, what unique advantages does video offer as a communication tool compared to other mediums such as audio or text?
Well, let me start by saying I'm glad you referred to it as a communication tool, because that's what I feel video in all of its different forms really is in today's world, even when we're using it for marketing or for brand, for advertisements, whatever it happens to be. The real power of video is in its ability to communicate messages clearly, to communicate them with conviction, with emotion, with passion, with personality, and really bring your ideas to life with whomever your audience happens to be. I've been in this world of video use in businesses of all shapes and sizes and markets for about 10 years now in my life at Vidyard. And I've had a chance to see how the use of video has evolved for everybody from companies like Salesforce, who you mentioned, who use video for marketing, who use it for events, and also use it in their sales processes to connect with customers, right through into small businesses, healthcare providers, agencies, and so on. And what I've learned over the last 10 years in really living in this space, in addition to it just fundamentally being a communication tool, is something that I call the 4 E's of video, and that's the letter E. And I talk about this, like you mentioned in my book, The Visual Sale. It's something as I was really researching, the power of video, this idea of the 4 E's really came to mind. And these are what I think of as the superpowers. So when you talk about like, how does video differ? These are the things video does really well. So the first E is that video is more educational than other forms of communication. And that is, of course, because we have the power of visuals, we have the power of audio, we can show rather than tell. And the way our brains process visual information is very different from how we process the written word or static content. So we can convey a lot more information. So it's an amazing way to educate. And we all know that, and it's why the marketers in the room spend money to make videos to explain ideas. So educate is that first E. The second is that video has the ability to be more engaging than other forms of content. And it's our ability to storytell, to add motion, to, again, add energy, personality, body language. All of those enable us to make video a more engaging medium for our audience. The third is it has the power to be more emotional than other forms of content. Video is a great way to connect with people, to make them feel something, right? Whether that's we want to make them laugh, we want to make them feel understood, lots of different ways we could plug into emotions. And then the last E, which is really important in how a lot of us are using video now today, and frankly, how we're using it right now, Mark, is that it can instill a greater sense of empathy, of peer-to-peer communication, of transparency, of helping our audience know who we are and that we're here to help them, to support them. And again, whether you're a marketer, whether you are somebody doing remote patient services, whether you're a salesperson on a Zoom call or sending a video message, it allows us to be ourselves, to be human, and create better connections with people on the other side. So those 4 E's is how I think about it: educational, engaging, emotional, and empathetic. And if we always strive to use video to unlock those superpowers, then we will see success with it, and we'll use it in the right ways.
You know what, Tyler? I absolutely knew that one of the 4 E's would be engage.
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
It's funny when I do these. When I do these, I often get like chats of people putting in other E words, and they're like, "Oh, it can be entertaining," or "It's like easy," and I'm like, "Oh, it could be 10 E's at the end of the day." And it's funny when you peel it back, you recognize like there really are all these great like superpowers of video. And when you put yourself in those shoes and you think whether you're a marketer, a communicator, or a sales team, like, wouldn't you want to use the medium that is more engaging, more emotional, more educational, more empathetic? And we all nod our heads. We're like, of course, like, why wouldn't I? But we often get stuck in like, how do we actually use video? We know it serves these purposes, but it's difficult in some cases to know how to use it. So yeah, it's really interesting.
It is. And I just have to say, as a little editorial comment, hey, I'm an editor, we editorialize, that I've watched a number of TED Talks, and one of the reasons I think, and they do TED Talks all over the world now, and in various languages. I've seen TED Talks in other languages as well. And there is that power. People just engage so strongly. Mm-hmm. So I certainly agree with you. But anyway, I just thought that might be a good example.
Yeah.
I have many different non-work interests, and including language learning and multilingualism. And it's fascinating because you can convey so much in any language through the medium of video. So anyway, just to support and reinforce what you said.
Love it.
Yeah. So how can healthcare organizations ensure that patients feel comfortable and confident in using video technology for virtual consults and appointments? And I think this is a really interesting question, Tyler, because as you know, we went through the pandemic, or as I like to say, a meteor hit the earth.
Yes.
And in many cases, we had to use video for telehealth. So we just did it. It's like, if you have to do something, you do it. And people learned a lot. So what have we learned, and how can the healthcare leaders think about this potential?
Yeah, well, you're right. And I know it's something that, I think we need to talk about, is the shift that happened as a result of the pandemic that we shall not name. Because one of the positive outcomes of that was this kind of democratization in the use of video for remote communication. And, people in all walks of life, in all types of businesses, for personal and professional use, started, in most cases, to get at least comfortable and or knowledgeable about how to do things like a video call. And that started to really change the way that even we all think about video today. Like, we used to think about video as like, oh, that's like commercials and advertisements. And then like, oh, those like videos on companies' websites, or like an explainer video or something like that. And now, when you think about the average person and you say like, how do you use like video in your life? It's like, well, 2 things. I record videos on my smartphone and I put them on TikTok, or I do video calls as part of like my professional or even some of my personal life. And that's very different from where we were 3-4 years ago, right? And so there was this great democratization that happened. But as part of that, it also kind of lowered the bar for how we all think about using video in a business context. Right? Like, again, 3-4 years ago, you probably would not have been comfortable doing this from your home with a bookcase behind you and so on. But now I'm like, I love the fact that Mark is in his home environment. I think it's great. Yeah. I'm actually at my office. I wish I were at home so you could see my background. It's become this great equalizer. So my hope is that, that's carried over into things like in telehealth and how we work with patients, that more and more people are becoming getting a comfort level with this. It's not just that we have to be able to do it. People have recognized that in many cases, this is a better way to do things. But I think what's really important, whether your patients or your audience, whomever you're reaching out to, is or isn't comfortable being on camera, I think what's most important is that all of us are leaders in this, and we're taking those first steps, right?
Yeah.
Like even if we say, okay, we're going to do a remote call, and the important thing for the person on the other side is to be comfortable. That's the most important thing. And so we can always be proactive and saying, I'd like to do this as a video call so you can see me, you can get to know me, and I can explain things more clearly. If you'd like to keep your camera off, please do. I want you to be as comfortable as possible. And sometimes partway through the conversation, they turn it on, and now we're like, okay, now we've got rapport and it's better for both sides. And so I think being mindful of that, of like making sure they understand the value of why you're coming through in video, and then making sure they come in as a comfort level, and we let them kind of come to us at their own speed.
Yeah. And can I bring up an example to support what you just said?
Please.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of I'm like a pinball machine here, because I'm going to mention two things that are completely the opposite. So bear with me. We all know about programs on TV like America's Funniest Home Videos. And I think years ago, that's kind of what people had in their mind, right? Like videos of people falling down or something silly like that. Now, what's fascinating, and this happened during the pandemic, was when we had to go to video consults for many kinds of appointments, something really interesting happened. Clinicians were, so Dr. Smith was sitting with Mrs. Jones on the other end. Dr. Smith saw Mrs. Jones's home environment.
Yeah.
And said, oh, I noticed you have mold in your wall, or, something like that. Or, I can hear that there are loud cars and motorcycles. You have noise pollution, any number of things. And what clinicians have been talking about is how, wow, this is really interesting, because when Mrs. Jones or Mrs. Smith comes into your office as a physician, you are in your office. Mm-hmm. She brings nothing other than what she wears and maybe her purse or something like that. But when you actually see her in your home environment, physicians have said it triggers things to them. They're like, oh, I noticed you have a mountain of Snickers bars next to her. I'm bringing up silly examples, but they're learning things about the home environment. And so there are all sorts of things that we didn't anticipate. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it really is, right? And it's been this unlock in many ways of and democratizing access to people, to information, to communication, allowing us to almost get visibility into people's environments. And it's created this great accessibility, really is what it is at the end of the day, both accessible to people, accessible to be able to understand their environments, their situations way better than we ever could have traditionally. And what gets me so excited is like this is just the start of the one use of video that we're seeing huge benefits for. But there's been this really interesting trickle effect in now that people on both sides are getting more comfortable turning on their camera, using video, maybe even using a virtual background. All of a sudden we're getting pretty techie. We're almost doing live video editing. It's actually starting to unlock a lot of other opportunities outside of just those live consultations, which is a big area that I think we're going to see explored over the next few years.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Tyler, can you share a few success stories or examples of where video communication has made a significant difference in an organization's or individuals' communication efforts?
Yeah, and I'll start by generalizing a little bit to sort of share some of the trends that I've seen in terms of how successful businesses in different walks of life, professionals in different walks of life have been embracing video in different ways to hopefully inspire all of you with the art of the possible and how it might apply to your situation. So, the first one, the obvious one, which we've talked about, is really embracing, video calling, video conferencing, and that we've been through, we all get it, we're there. And so that's a great sort of foundation. But what we're starting to see certainly is more and more use of video content, produced video content or created video content by marketing teams, by communicators, by sales teams, as a way to share information more visually in a more engaging, educational, empathetic, and emotional way where they never really did before. And, part of the reason for that is, video itself has become so much more accessible than it ever has. And we sort of, preceded some of those ideas about how we don't need to have drone footage. And, we don't need professional production for, frankly, probably 90+% of the kinds of videos we could be using to communicate our ideas, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know I live in the tech space. So for all of you, I know, surprise, surprise, I don't come from the healthcare space. I come from the video technology space, and I get to see how lots of different companies use it. And, we see a lot of use in, frankly, it's all industries, but like a lot of folks in high tech, a lot of folks in financial services, a lot of folks in healthcare who, have complex ideas to explain. They're now, recording screen share videos where they're recording something on their screen and maybe they have their camera on at the same time. They're recording things from their smartphone. They're even then doing like some really basic quick editing. They're trimming it up. They, might add some captions or something. And, those aren't the videos that are going up on the front of your website or, so on. But they're now able to create content quickly to answer questions that people are asking, in the moment. That, again, instead of saying, oh, hey, let's hop on a call or jump on a video call to answer that, now I can go, you know what? I'm going to quickly hit record on my computer. I'm going to talk through it, explain it, and send that over as a video for you to consume and watch and learn from. Or maybe I've heard the same question 5 times this week, so I'm going to sit down and make a video that clearly answers that. And I'm going to have it at the ready that I can always share with my prospects, my patients, my customers, whomever it is that I'm communicating with. So there's been this really interesting, again, sort of democratization of video creation that's happened. And that's resulting in all these new use cases for video. And that's actually, when you say like success story, that to me is actually one of the great success stories, is seeing businesses of all sizes, right? Even like 2-person shops that don't have a video creator. It's just individuals who are now figuring out, oh, I can record something with really simple, accessible tools, deliver my information in a way that's way more valuable to my audience. And a really cool manifestation of that, which, I spend a lot of time working on myself, is we work with a lot of sales teams. And I know not all of you here kind of manage or are part of sales, but bear with me, because a lot of the things that they're doing apply to lots of different roles. Sales teams, especially in business to business, right? They adopted video calls for live instead of, in-person meetings as a way to connect with people more efficiently. And they've also now started to embrace video messages, as we call them, as a way to enhance their email communications. So it's like, when we get a chance to speak live, yes, let's do it over a video call. But in other cases, when I have to, again, answer a question, walk you through something, maybe share a proposal with you, and I want to have the opportunity to explain it in more detail, I can hit the record button, right? Like sales teams are doing this now. They're using tools like Vidyard. That's why I'm so close to it, is we have free tools in this space. And so they're now hitting record with a screen share and their camera on in the corner, and they walk through the information. They might show something on their screen. They might bring up a proposal. They might walk through a demonstration. And as soon as they're done, they hit stop, and it's immediately they go copy a link, paste it into an email, and send it. And so there's, now no need to say, I've got to upload this video, or what do I do with it, right? Like, the tools are out there now that make that stuff really, really simple. It's just as easy as typing and sending an email. I record the video, immediately I can copy the link into the email and send it. And it'll even put the nice thumbnail image into the email, so they can see you right before they even click play. And they're like, oh, that's Mark. He's waving at me. Okay, let's see what Mark has to say. And I click play, and I get to hear you explain an idea to me. So we're seeing a lot of sales teams use that really effectively as a way of standing out with their potential customers, and using all 4 of those E's, right? Like they're earning their attention, and then they're educating them with these short videos. They're using them to keep connecting and sort of build that personal rapport and that empathy with them. And that's been a huge win for a lot of businesses I've talked to, are using those video messages as part of that process, in addition to using video calls.
Well, what I could really see happening in patient care would be, for many years, we've had patient education around, congestive heart failure, or coronary artery disease, or lung disease. I could really see now where individual physicians, nurse practitioners, other clinicians could take the opportunity, because we all have this access to video now. It's not, you don't have to have like a broadcast television studio or something, right? I could really see where, say, a cardiologist might just decide she or he has been saying the same thing to their patients for, years and years and years and years. I could see where they would decide, you know what, I'm going to do a 3-minute video on this, right? Yeah. People are so confused about this one aspect of their care or one aspect of their condition. I'll just do a 3-minute video and say, hi, this is Dr. Jones. I'm sending this to you because I care about you as one of my patients in my practice. This is only 3 minutes long. Why don't you view this? And it would be very engaging. They already know Dr. Jones, right? They already see Dr. Jones. It's like, oh, look, there's Dr. Jones. Yeah. And that could be even more effective than the broad. Very often when patients are lying in their inpatient beds in hospitals, they're given access to educational videos, right? Sometimes the videos are a little bit dry, sometimes they're less dry, but they're by someone you don't know. Yeah. Now imagine the power of a clinician whom you know, actually saying, hi, this is Dr. Jones, and a number of you have asked me about blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to spend 3 minutes talking about blah, 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 and I hope you will learn from this and enjoy this. Yeah. So really great. And for that, Tyler, how do you see the pandemic as accelerating adoption?
Well, that's the big unlock for all of this, because when you talk about that use case and you say, okay, so wouldn't it be great if Dr. Jones was the one explaining that? And if you told Dr. Jones that, I suspect they might say something along the lines of, I don't have a video studio. I don't know how to produce these videos, right? That's just I don't know. Sounds expensive. And, the reality is, as we alluded to earlier, the last few years has totally changed all of that. And the tools to record these videos are frankly, freely available. You've already got a camera on your phone that is likely more powerful than what people were using to film, movies 30 years ago. So we have the tools. And then again, at Vidyard, we have a free product that you can use to record from your webcam on your computer. Again, either just your camera or your camera plus your screen. And that you can use, you can record a video and then you can share it somewhere, you can post it, and it becomes really, again, accessible and democratized. And again, the reality is you don't need a studio setup behind you. In fact, most people now prefer the opposite, where it's more trustworthy if they see, you said, it's Dr. Jones who they know, and Dr. Jones is in their actual office or, somewhere that is familiar to them. And, and then people will say, well, does it come across as credible as something that's well produced over here? And, again, my answer to that is always, hey, if the content is the correct content and it's delivered with confidence, absolutely. And I think it actually becomes more trustworthy and therefore more credible as a result. And so there's so many ways to unpack and take advantage of that. And whether it's, again, content you're recording and making available, whether it's a one-off answer to something. I saw a question come through of well, how do I, is there a way to how would I personalize those at scale? If I say, I want to answer this question, but when I send it to Steve, I want to say in my video, hey, Steve, I wanted to answer this, or hello, Margaret, or whatever. I think I've got sort of a two-part answer to that. I might as well bring it in while we're talking about it. One is, I think, more often than not, that depending on the use case, it's probably not necessary to be personalizing it. And that's the role of your introduction to it. When you send it over in an email or something, you can put in there hey, Steve. And to your point, the video you can start with, I've been asked this question a number of times, so I want to now answer it very clearly. And you're not trying to pull one over on them. I made you this video. It's very clear. I made this once to answer that question. But that said, there's also, we'll probably touch on this later if we have time, but one of the things that is happening is the good old 2-letter acronym we all hear about now, AI, is starting to influence this space as well. And don't tell anybody I told you all this. This is still super secret. But even here at Vidyard, we're working on tools to say, hey, when I make a video for Mark, could I use AI on the back end to say hey, update it to now make me say Steve or Joyce or Karen. And it sounds exactly like I had re-recorded it. That stuff is starting to happen and become, reality. So I think you'll see that very soon, where based on some of these new AI technologies, you will be able to record a video once and then say, hey, customize this to say Steve instead of Mark. And it will spit out a new video for you that says, hi, Steve, and you can send it off. It's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, Tyler, that's what I was going to ask you about next. So you segued beautifully. I mean, the, there are so many technological trends now,
Mm,
and AI is one of them.
yeah.
Um, so let me frame it this way. How do you see advances in technology
Yeah.
changing what we're talking about right now on,
Yeah.
July 19th, 2023? Even as we're speaking, some genius somewhere has just had a breakthrough, and we'll find out about it, right?
Yep.
Like,
They're right over there.
yeah,
There they are. It just
they're
happened.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, right. And
Yeah.
so, what do you think? Just walk me through. What do you think the next few years will be like in this area? Because it sounds so exciting.
Yeah. I think so. What I'm seeing is the next couple of years, and AI plays a big role in this, is continuing on and accelerating this trend of making video creation easier, faster, more robust, and making good quality video content creation again easier, faster, and accessible to frankly everybody. And I think that's the big unlock that we continue to see. I think the industry as a whole, and certainly what we do here at Vidyard, we want to get to a point in the near future where, anybody, like all of you listening right now, if you're thinking like, oh, I'm like, I can't make really engaging videos, or like, I don't know how to edit a video and do this, or I don't know like how to add a background behind me or have a graphic fly across the screen. I need a producer for that. It's getting very close now, and over the next year or two, those things are going to be solved. And even to the point where, Mark, if you have an idea for a video you want to make, you won't even need to turn on your camera. You'll type down a script and you'll say, generate that video for me. And it will pull in like relevant imagery in the background. It may have, again, an AI avatar of you if you want yourself to be in the video, but you don't want to have to record yourself. So all these things are happening and are getting to the point where they are very, very good. And so the core underpinning of that is just continuing to make video creation easier for everybody. And so for those of you who are marketers, communicators, salespeople, whoever you are on the line listening, I want you to be thinking about that. Like, how is it that you can be a part of that? How can you stay ahead of it? Because we're all going to be video creators. And in many ways, we all are video creators now, right? Yeah. Like, we don't think about it, but, right now, Mark, we're making a video, and I think it's a pretty good one, I hope. You are a video creator in many ways. And I promise you, you could take this recording, you could do a little bit of editing on it, add some music behind it, turn it into something, grab a clip from it. And you might say, I don't know how to do that, Tyler. And I bet you in 5 minutes, I could point you at a video that would explain how to do it, and you'd be able to. So that's what gets me really excited, is like all of us being able to make pretty great videos without having to like go through professional video production training.
I just need the technology to transform myself into Ryan Reynolds or some other famous Hollywood star.
I got that for you. But the only person right now I can give you legal rights to use is myself. So I'll send you my avatar. You can make videos as me. That's all I can promise you for the moment, Mark. But seeing this in real life, one of the things we actually next week we're going to be launching is we've built a very simple thing called an AI-powered script generator. Because like one of the challenges for people getting started with like those video messages I talk about, or even like kind of making a video, is like, what do I say? Like what makes a good script for like a video message or something like that? And so, as soon as like ChatGPT really like flourished and became something more people were seeing, our engineers hopped on and they said, what could we build on top of this? And so, next week, when you open up your Vidyard account and you say, I want to record a video, you'll be able to turn on the script generator and you can say, write me a script for a video for Mark Hagland at XYZ. His role is this, and I want to pitch my product or service to it, or he's my patient and I want to explain this, and generate a script, and it will create a script for you. You could tweak it yourself. But it takes a lot of that effort out of it, right? You're saying, cool, this becomes a lot easier. And then you can hit the play button to make it scroll like a teleprompter. So now it's even like kind of feeding you the words you can say. So all of this stuff is like starting to happen. And what I can say is, again, don't fear like some of these things that are happening. Obviously, there's a lot of like stigma around AI these days and a lot of opportunities for it to go the wrong way. But there are so many cases like this where it's just about, as an assistant to all of us, to make it unlock our creativity. Like this is going to help us be more creative with things like video.
And I'll add another example, if I may, to support what you just said. I'm thinking now not only of physicians, right? Like Dr. Jones says to their patients, "Hi, and Dr. Jones is a cardiologist and says, so many of you have asked me about blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to spend 3 minutes talking about it." I can also see a ton of other people doing this, dietitians and nutritionists, people don't understand about carbs. So I'm going to talk for 5 minutes about carbs. How does that affect your health? And I think one of the key elements here in healthcare, as you know, we have tremendous shortages of everything and everyone, especially nurses. But one of the challenges that clinicians and other leaders have is they don't have time. And I think one way in which technology will be assistive is it will, as you said, you can use ChatGPT to create a script and then you can tweak it for yourself. So yeah, it's a new world because, 20 years ago, before we had all the technology we have, what you and I are doing would have seemed miraculous and strange, right? Like,
yeah,
two guys, they're getting on a video link and they're talking, and like we would have had to have studios, right? Like with people and camera grips, and we don't need that anymore. We've got platforms, and I see in healthcare, in patient care delivery, and especially in patient education and support, just tremendous potential here.
Yeah. And what gets me excited as well is like this is stuff that impacts literally every part of the business, the institution, because we talk about there's obvious implications for patient care and communication and education and support of patients. And then we have all these other aspects of our operational businesses, of like marketing. Again, if we're an organization that we have products or services and we do sales, again, it impacts there. Frankly, it even impacts our internal operations teams in some ways. Our own legal team, as an example, like when we get a contract back from a customer and they want to change something in our legal language, our legal team will, internally, because we're all work remote now, is when trying to explain back, why a term is or how they won't, how they can change it or something, they'll record a video and they'll bring the clause up on the screen and they'll highlight it and they'll say, okay, so we know you've asked about this. This is the reason why it is. And to type that out in an email and to get somebody to really understand it, like put in a comment in the document, it's hard. But they'll just record a video and they'll explain it like a human. They'll like highlight things. They might show something that's relevant. And so we find, and of course, we're a little bit ahead of the curve because we're a video tech company. We do these things, but there isn't anybody in our business who's not using, videos in some way, shape, or form to communicate what they need to communicate, to answer questions, to explain ideas. And it really does become powerful when it becomes just as easy to make and send a video as it is to write an email or to type out an instant message or to make a slide, right? Like those are all things we all just do as part of how we communicate in business today. We didn't go to school to learn how to write emails or how to create presentations. Some of us probably should have. But the same thing is going to happen now with video as a communication tool, right? Like don't feel like you need to be a trained producer. There are still, I am 100% for produced videos from trained professionals who know how to do what they're doing. It's a craft, it's an art for those videos that are going on your website, that are like really important, that are going to live a long time. But so many of these other use cases are getting unlocked. And as you can all see, I get so fired up and excited about this because of those 4 E's of video. And I'll say them again because somebody did ask. This is our unlock for creating communications and content that are more educational, engaging, emotional, and empathetic. And if you didn't catch it there, go buy my book, The Visual Sale. It's on Amazon, and there's whole chapters on it in there.
Well, I think, what's interesting to me too, Tyler, is the world is changing rapidly. We have a lot of young people. My daughter is 21 and she's just starting graduate school. Her her world, she actually learned some Korean cooking through TikTok, right?
Oh,
So
100%.
yeah. And so she was telling me about this over dinner. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm old enough. I'm older than the mountains and the hills. That would have been just unimaginable, right? Like, I hate to say in my day, that sounds really oldish, but when I was growing up, the only way you could learn certain kinds of cooking beyond what everybody knows, like how to boil water or put pasta or whatever, the only way you could learn cooking that wasn't um, known by people around you was to go to a bookstore or go to the library and get a book, right? It was a paper book, Julia Child or whatever. And it said, this is how you do boeuf bourguignon, right? And it was, first of all, it was flat, right? It was written down.
Mhm.
Now the possibilities are so amazing, right? You
Oh,
can,
yeah.
you can go to TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, and there are videos showing you how to make the most exotic foods from cultures you haven't even interacted with yet, right?
Yeah.
Like you could go onto YouTube and say, I want to learn to cook
Unbelievable.
Uzbek cooking,
Yeah.
right? Just because you're intrigued by that. So the possibility in healthcare and in other industries, the educational possibilities are so rich, I think,
Oh,
going
yeah.
forward.
And what you sort of, I think the corollary back into like our world here is that, those are like super niche micro things, right? Like even like a video about how to, cook some exotic food, didn't exist a number of years ago, even when we had video, because it was just so niche that like to make that video, it's only going to get 50 people who watch it. It's not worth it. But like nowadays, that's totally changed because of the fact that, again, we can create a video, frankly, as quickly as we can type out an article.
Yeah.
And so what that's unlocking is this use of video to clearly communicate and explain ideas at a super niche micro level.
Yeah.
And so now it's not just about Dr. Jones making a video talking about this one big topic that everybody cares about. It's like, hey, only 5 of my patients are going to care about this, but I can make this video quickly and easily and add value to those 5 people. So like in a given day, I can make 4, 5, 10 quick micro videos if I need to, or maybe on some days I don't. And so that's becoming the unlock is, now the frequency with which we can do this. We don't always have to go into it thinking, oh, is it worth making a video? Am I going to get at least 1,000 people to watch this, right? Like for some things, the big ones you're investing in, sure. But for all these other use cases, that's the opportunity, right? It's like, and I love that like micro recipe example. It's a perfect case for like how we think about information delivery now.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, since everyone knows about food, it's an easy thing to talk about. But I've had friends who have said literally, I was just curious about X cuisine, right? I bring up Uzbek because it sounds very exotic, but you're right, any cuisine, right? Like I didn't know anything about Uzbek cuisine, so I went on YouTube, and guess what? There were 2 videos showing me how to make this special dish that is
Yep.
incredibly Uzbek. So the potential is tremendous. And another example in healthcare is physicians are now having, there's this term grand rounds where that everyone goes around a hospital ward and sees all the patients, and then they all discuss and they bring their residents. The potential now for physicians to connect all around the world. You can have a subspecialist in oncology in Canada, and one in Argentina, and one in Japan, and one in Finland. They can all get onto a video together, and they were connected because of their mutual interest. And there might be one very, very specialized procedure that they want to talk about, and each of them will say, I found out blah 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 about this. What do you 4 others think? They can create a video out of that, and then that can spawn further research by their colleagues, oncologists anywhere in the world. So the potential is tremendous. And I think what you said with the 4 E's is also important, because people will, other oncologists will view that video. And even in the context of subspecialty medicine, they'll be more engaged, right? Because they're constantly reading in clinical journals. It's overwhelming how much is there. But if you could gather together, like I say, I'm just giving the example, 5 oncologists from all over the world who are researching something very, very specialized, you can have an amazing experience. So,
yeah.
Well, before we go to questions, is there anything else that you would like to add, Tyler? And then we'll go to a couple questions.
Oh my goodness, Mark. I mean, this is it was such a fun conversation. I appreciate you hosting this. We talked about a lot of really important things. So I think we've covered, all the main bases. I saw a couple questions come through that I hope to specifically answer, because they, I think, relate back to some of the specific sales and marketing use cases that I think are interesting. So why don't we hop over into those, and I think we'll cover the main bases.
Yeah, we actually have several questions, so I'm going to go in order. It'll probably take us 15 minutes here. So first audience question, what are some of the most professional, affordable video choices?
Yeah, so as we talked through here, there's a full spectrum of how you can create videos. You can go the literally $0 approach of, recording using your cell phone or another camera that you have if you're recording real people. There are, again, lots of free tools to do screen recording if you're trying to explain something that you can show visually on a screen. Vidyard has tools, a Chrome plugin and a desktop app that you can do free webcam and screen recording. So those are often great approaches when it's sort of, educational information you're trying to walk people through. If you're doing videos for other more marketing purposes or broader external communications, website videos, things like that, clearly you want to, put a little bit more effort into it. I would recommend, if you're thinking about that, you can always hire freelance producers to help you with those. That's often going to be a more cost-effective way than going to a big production agency or something along those lines. Frankly, you might have friends and family who are capable video recorders and editors. If you have a child or a nephew or a niece who's 21, like Mark, you probably have a video creator in the family. So explore those ideas. And again, I encourage all of you to maybe even try some of this out yourself. Even start with personal videos, watch a YouTube video on how to edit with iMovie or something like that. And, maybe you'll surprise yourself. Maybe you can start making some of them.
Amazing. We have something that's a comment, not a question, but I love it. And the audience member actually has nurse in their email. So I'm presuming they're a nurse. And per video, this audience member just says, it allows for the clinician to understand the patient on a more intimate level, a deeper personal understanding. Isn't that great? I just love those. Yeah.
Love it.
And then, the same audience member also says it continues to be a big hurdle because the older generation is not comfortable with technology. I think that's partly true. It's true for some. But on the other hand, during the pandemic, I know countless grandparents who communicated with their grandchildren over video. So, but any thoughts about that, Tyler?
My only, I would agree. And it's certainly a reality that, people in different walks of life, and then, especially folks in older generation who aren't yet comfortable or aren't yet sort of, I know folks who don't have a webcam on their computer. They just never did. And it wasn't a part of their life. So for those, I would say, just think about how you can use video from your side to communicate information to them. Don't always go into it with an expectation that they need to be using video on their side all the time. Even something like if you're using a Zoom or something like that, just make it as easy as possible. Just click the link, or there's even a phone number that they can just phone in, right? If you're using tools like Zoom or Teams or others, there's always a phone number you can phone into. You yourself can always still be on camera, but just don't always expect that they're going to have to do it from their side. So make it easy for them to engage with you in video, but don't always expect they have to be on video themselves. It's best advice I can give.
And we're actually getting a bunch of questions. So let's try to run through these a little bit quickly because we're going to run out of time. One audience member says, I agree with what's being said for singular common videos, such as a standardized generic product demo. But what if we want to personalize videos at scale? For example, when I've heard the question I've heard 5 times, how can I say, in response to your question, Steve,
Right.
I recorded the attached. So it's far more personalized. I think you kind of answered this, but if you want to pivot a little bit more on it.
I did. And thanks for the question, Eric. And then I saw Eric double down when I did answer this in the vein of, there's tech that people are working on, even here at Vidyard, to say, auto customize a video for somebody else's name or something like that. So Eric did double down asking if I could commit to a release date of said technology. I can't yet, Eric. I'm sorry, but it's literally in the labs as we speak here. And that's the best I can say. So I hope to see stuff like that sooner than later. Between us friends here, I certainly expect by the end of the year, these things will be in market. So, keep an eye out for it.
Okay, great. And then another audience member says, with so many email hacks, what recommendations do you have for sales teams to use in the subject line or body of email so the recipient knows the email is legit? Oh my gosh, that really resonates with me.
It's a big question. And I'll answer it in the context of what we're talking about here, of sending videos via email, and very common use case. And Angie mentioned in sort of that sales use case. So a few tips for that. So if you or your sales team are sending emails to prospective clients, so people who you aren't yet working with, and you're going to include a video in that email as a way to try to connect with them. First and foremost, you're absolutely right. You need to think about the subject line. One tip that I have there is, contrary to what seems to be popular belief, the shorter and simpler the subject line, often the better. Like 2 or 3 word subject lines that are like very specific actually tend to work a lot better than often as salespeople. We try to like explain everything in the subject, and put it like 80% ROI, you must, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, just be really simple in the subject line and create curiosity. Once they open the email, if you are including a video message, then there's 2 things you're going to want to do. First of all is include the thumbnail image for the video message. Again, if you use a tool like Vidyard, we auto-generate a thumbnail image for your video and make it 1 click to add that to the email. And so in doing that, they're going to see your face, like maybe you might be smiling and waving. Maybe it's a screen share where you're showing something on your screen. Include that thumbnail image so that if they have images turned on, and sometimes they won't, but they'll be able to see what the video is about. And really important is if that image is personalized, that'll work even better. So for example, if I was reaching out to Mark, one of the hacks I might use is, in my world, I would go to Mark's LinkedIn profile because I know that's like his business profile. And I would have that up on my screen. I'd hit record in Vidyard. I'd have my camera on in the corner, but I'd have Mark's LinkedIn profile up on the screen behind me. And then I would, say, hey, Mark, Tyler from Vidyard here. The reason I'm reaching out, and I noticed from your LinkedIn profile, your title is XYZ. I work with a number of other people just like you, whose biggest problem is this. And, I'd love to share a bit more about how they're solving it, da, da, da. And what that does is when Mark opens it, if he sees that thumbnail image, he sees my face and he sees his own LinkedIn profile behind him. He knows, in a split second, you made this just for him, and is way more likely to click and watch because he's like, right. So that works really, really well. And then the other thing is make sure you introduce it obviously in the copy of your email, and be really specific and personal in that, right? I would say something like, of course, along the lines of hey, Mark, noticed, make an observation first is my usual tip for an outbound email. So that first timely observation, hey, Mark, noticed that you did this great webinar last week with an incredible guest named Tyler Lessard. Absolutely loved it. And then the reason I'm reaching out is ABC. And again, it just, all of those things make it clearer and clearer to Mark that this was really made just for him, the email, the video, and that will always increase your chances of engagement.
Wonderful. So, believe it or not, we have more questions coming in. If you don't mind, let's do this kind of rapid fire because we're going to run out of time. So here's a good one, though. Do you think there could be video fatigue, and what is the ideal length of a video?
At some point, we certainly could have video fatigue. I don't think we're there yet, unless you count TikTok. But I think we're okay for now. But to your point, great question. How long should your video be? I think what we will have sooner than later is long video fatigue. But short form video fatigue, I don't think we will. So the shorter the better, always respecting your audience's time. But the ideal length depends on what it's for. If it's for an outbound prospecting email, for example, in a sales use case where you don't know the other person, less than 1 minute. If it's an educational video where you're explaining a topic or walking through something, 2 to 4 minutes is a good sort of rule of thumb. Don't go beyond 5 minutes for any video unless it's a webinar like this. People will just not even watch if it's longer than that.
Yeah. Wonderful. Oh, I'm going to answer a question. What are the 4 E's again? I'm going to show I was listening. Educational, engaging, emotional, and empathetic.
Oh, well done, Mark. You got it.
I was actually listening.
You got it.
Thank you. And you already answered this one question. Okay, next one. How does Vidyard help with creating or disseminating patient education videos? There are so many tools. Again, we've got like 3 more. So if you can kind of
rush through this is the most important question. This is my chance to actually promote what I do. Thank you for the question. Who is that in there? Thank you, Jeanette. Great question. So Vidyard, there's 2 parts to what we do as Vidyard. And you can try these for free. You can just go to vidyard.com and sign up. One part is we have a video messaging and sharing tool. So you can record using your webcam, using a screen share, or a combination of both. So you can record a video. It's immediately in your Vidyard library, and you just copy paste the link and the thumbnail image for that video, send it off to somebody via email. Easy peasy. When they click to watch it, it opens up on a web page and they watch that video. We also have a video hosting solution as part of that. So whether or not you record new videos, you can always upload any videos you have into Vidyard. And you can embed those videos just like you could a YouTube video, but each of those videos also get their own dedicated playback page. So again, if you upload a video, it'll have its own unique link, and you can just send that link to people. They can go to that page, watch that video, and so on. So lots of things there. Check it out. And again, you can try it out for free and see for yourself.
Okay, great. Okay, this next question has several parts. We only have a few minutes, but I'll let you handle it how you want. So the person says, great presentation. You implemented all 4 E's. My question, sometimes clients ask to send recorded video messages. Could you please give some references or resources to generate a recorded video message? It's a lot to ask in a webinar, but is there a training video on how to record a video message and share it with clients? Yep. What kind of setting, tools, and equipment are needed if I want to produce it by myself?
All right. So no, Shahid, I can condense this into, I think basically the question here is, how the heck do I record and send a video message? Because again, my clients or maybe my boss are asking me to do that. And again, like, not intended to be a shameless plug, honestly, like Vidyard is a simple and thankfully you can start for free way to do it. And so you need a purpose-built tool, right? So don't try like recording a video on your phone, uploading it to YouTube, things like that. It just is really inefficient. So there are purpose-built tools for this now, and Vidyard is one. So just head on over to vidyard.com and you can sign up for free. And again, once you do, you can install, there's a Chrome plugin, there's a desktop app, and it makes it really simple. You'll see it for yourself. Record, choose your camera, choose what screen if you want, record your video as soon as it's ready to go. You can send that off, and you'll even get notifications after you do to let you know if the person watched it, how long they watched it, and those sorts of things. So that's my my best advice. And in terms of your camera setup and otherwise, I mean, what you have today is often good enough. I think people sometimes overthink it, but I will give one final piece of advice here for all of you who are going to make these kinds of videos. Your lighting and your audio are actually more important than your camera. So I myself, I have 2 windows in front of me. I actually have a nice microphone here because I want to make sure you can clearly hear me. And the lighting does wonders to make a camera look good. I'm just using my embedded webcam, but it looks really good because I have good lighting on me. So start there with trying to get good lighting and good audio and worry about your camera later.
Great advice. Okay, I'm going to combine 2 things from one audience member. She says socioeconomic challenges. Yes, we have to deal with those. But she also says, I'm a nurse educator. This is very exciting. I love it. The information has been there, but it's always how to give information effectively. So that speaks very much to everything we've been talking about, right, Tyler? Tremendous potential. I think nurse educators dietitians and nutritionists, many others should be thrilled right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity for you to be able to be that trusted source who is providing this information in a way that's very clear, that takes advantage of all the 4 E's, and is very personal, right, in a way that you can deliver it. And so I think this is a great opportunity to be able to unlock that. And again, like you said, the information is all there somewhere, right? But if your patients don't know where to find it, if they don't trust where it's coming from, or it's not clear for them, it's not going to be useful. So it's an opportunity for you to be that individual in the middle and use a tool like video to present the information clearly, personally, trustworthy way, and unlock it for your audience, whether it's a patient or maybe you're starting up your own TikTok channel on nurse tips. Whatever it happens to be, this is a great way to do that. So appreciate the comments, and again, appreciate everyone's amazing questions that came through here. This is really great to see the engagement. So appreciate it.
That was our E.
That
was our E.
All of you are engaging with us. So thank you, sir.
Right. So I am going to conclude, but I just want to give you a minute or so. Is there anything else you'd like to add at the very end of this? Because after we speak for the next minute, then I'll conclude our presentation.
Sounds good. Well, I'll just wrap by saying, first of all, hopefully you walked away with some ideas. I know we talked about a lot of different things, but hopefully you're inspired, if nothing else, to think about how video can play a greater role in your communications, not just your live videos, but also how you share information, on demand with patients, with customers, with prospects, with your audience, whomever it happens to be. If you have more questions or ideas, please feel free to connect with me, Tyler Lessard. You should be able to find my info from LinkedIn. Just find me on LinkedIn, connect with me there, and send me a DM. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any. Okay. And then also, as mentioned, if you want to try sending video messages, these sorts of things, just head on over to vidyard.com. You can sign up for free and let me know what you think.
Okay, and I did something really bad. We have 2 quick survey questions, so I'm going to run them now and see if people can respond. So I'm sending them to the audience. 1, are you using video technology, video communications today? And the other, yikes. Are you interested in the telehealth video use case? Okay. So, and I apologize. I meant to do that just before we got to the questions. Okay.
We had such a good flow going, Mark. What can we say? It's all right.
Yes. Okay. So everyone is using video communications. 100% are you, and 100% are interested in the telehealth video use case. There you go.
We didn't even need the surveys.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're virtually everyone. I just got to, okay, now it's 80% yes are using video communications, 20% aren't, but 100% are interested in telehealth video use cases and 0% are not interested. So that's powerful, don't you think?
I do, and I'm not surprised to see sort of where we're at that base level. Next time we do this, we're going to ask everybody, are people doing it all in a way that they're super proud of and they think they are like video all-stars? That'll probably be pretty low today, but by the next time we do this, we're going to have you all there. So excited for that.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Tyler. This has been so great, and I appreciate your insights. I'm very excited. You definitely got me engaged. So, thank you so much. And I'm going to wrap now by saying, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank everyone at Salesforce and Vidyard. And I want to thank Tyler very much for sharing his wisdom and his insights today in this webinar. And finally, I want to thank everyone in our audience for joining us. We hope you'll join us again in the future for another healthcare innovation webinar. This concludes today's presentation. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.